Hello, my name is Leigh Grieve. I own a micro-publishing company called Sheffield Publications that's been in business for more than 20 years. We only put out a few select titles a year, and although we don't intend to grow any larger, getting our books into print, getting reviews, getting into bookstores and into libraries has been an enormous challenge and educational experience. I'm sharing this information with you so you don't have to make the same costly mistakes that I've done during my publishing learning curve. In addition to addressing the various publishing options, this short session is intended to demystify the differences between two of the main print-on-demand publishers, CreateSpace, which is owned by Amazon, and Ingram Book Company, in this case Ingram Spark, which services self-publishers and small publishers with less than 1,000 titles. Traditional publishing. Ideally, you will get a traditional publishing contract either with or without an agent. Even if you don't have an agent, if a traditional house offers you a contract, it's relatively easy to attract an agent to represent you after that. As a first-time author, depending on your book and the potential demand for it, the publisher may or may not have a marketing budget. Chances are, except for the publisher submitting it for review to Booklist, Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, etc., there won't be money for things like a publicist to handle events or a book tour. Again, your advance will depend on the potential market, but so much depends on the book and your writing. And dreams do happen. Independent, or as it's commonly referred to, indie publishing. Independent publishers vary widely. They can be publishing houses with hundreds or even thousands of books, or small boutique presses, meaning they have a very specific niche with only a handful of books. Often the indie presses with thousands of books are nothing more than a mass book production operation. Many are not discriminating and will publish anything and anyone, and how they make most of their money is not through the sale of the author's book to the reading public, but by selling to the author themselves at a higher than cost rate. Contracts can vary extensively, so it's important to read the fine print and know what you're signing. Contracts are meant to be negotiated. If the royalties are far below standard, if buying books for resale at events is expensive, or if the contract takes away rights from the author, i.e. sequels, spin-offs, film, merchandising, etc., or is extremely expensive to get out of, it's best to walk away. With royalties, there is a lot of gray area around net royalties after expenses. It's important that the author know exactly what expenses those are and how much they're anticipated to be. This is what you need to ask the publisher who's offering you the contract. Examples of expenses would be fees to set up, the ISBN, cover art, setup charges, mailings, and more. It's probably not worth your money to hire a contract attorney for an indie publishing contract, but by checking vetting sources such as preditors and editors, you will discover whether or not it's the right place for you. It's also a good idea to ask other authors who have been published by these publishing houses. Publishing services. Publishing services can be anything from an independent printer who sets up your book and prints it for a fee to a publishing service such as Book, Baby, or Inkwater Press. A printing company will print copies of your book, but the publishing services will often provide distribution as part of their packages. The costs associated with the publishing services vary, but usually run close to $5,000 and may contain many a la carte services you may or may not need, such as professional editing or book cover design. Cooperative Publishing. A cooperative publisher is generally a group of authors who have gotten together to share knowledge, information, and distribution of their books, as well as costs. An author's work will still have to pass scrutiny due to requirements by the other members. Bottom line, with indie presses, publishing services, or cooperative publishers, take a look at the quality of books. Go on to Amazon and read excerpts to see if the book is full of typos or bad formatting. Look at the covers, quality of the publication, etc., and then decide if your book would be a good fit. Self-publishing. When you self-publish your book, you may also become an editor, book designer, artist, and publisher. If you cannot afford to hire out services such as professional editing, book cover design, or book setup, especially with ebooks, you will have to become an expert on this yourself, or team up with another writer to help you with the process. You bear all the responsibility for the quality of the book, the marketing, and getting reviews, but you also take home all the profits after setup charges and consignment fees. There are many places to self-publish books. Barnes & Noble now has a self-publishing arm, as does Kobo Books. Then there is Lulu and Smashwords. But for this discussion, we're going to limit it to just two: CreateSpace, which is Amazon, and Ingram Spark, which is the Ingram Book Group. So which is it better to use, CreateSpace or Ingram Spark? That all depends on what you plan to do with your writing and publishing career. If you want your books to be carried in traditional bookstores, it's best to publish through Ingram Spark. The downside to that is that you have to discount the books. The standard discount is 55%. Of that 55%, the bookseller gets a 40% discount on books ordered. Ingram Book Company takes 15% for distribution. Note, although most booksellers are happy with a 40% discount, according to their author-publisher application form, Barnes & Noble's lowest discount for stocking books in their store is 47%. Even if you have your books printed and distributed by Ingram, there is no guarantee that a bookstore will carry them or have you do a signing. When I approached the local Powell's bookstore in Portland, Oregon, to arrange a signing for an author whose picture book illustrator is internationally known and a big draw when he does signings, I was told that unless the book was a regularly stocked item, they won't arrange a book signing. An enormous downside to returns, apart from the obvious no revenue, is that it's actually worse than a no sale. In addition to the sale being reversed, you are also charged for the printing when the book is returned. So on a $10 book, Ingram charges the bookseller $5.30 for each book. Of that, Ingram charges $4.19 to print it. If it sells, you get $1.11 in publisher's compensation. In the slide shown, you can see that the two returned books were charged against the publisher's net compensation, which left a deficit of $7.27. If there are no additional book sales to offset that negative number, you will be invoiced for it. As I am worried about returns, I now only contract with Indy bookstores to carry my books on a consignment contract. Most consignment contracts state that if books haven't sold in 6 months, you are responsible for picking them up or having them shipped to you at your cost. I get around this by doing a book signing at least once every 6 months at Indy stores. This not only helps the bookstore bring in traffic, it also helps your books stay in the store. If you are only interested in selling books on your own, online, or carried by a limited number of Indy bookstores, then CreateSpace is fine. Although most Indy bookstores prefer to sell on consignment, most will not carry CreateSpace books. I use both CreateSpace and Ingram Spark. I initially published through CreateSpace because they pay a higher percentage of royalties when customers purchase online. I published through Kindle about the same time. If you're going to use Ingram Spark to publish and sell ebooks, they sell to Kindle, Nook, Kobo, Apple, and more. You can't choose Kindle Direct Publishing Select, or as it's called, KDP Select. When you choose to enroll your book in KDP Select, which includes Kindle Unlimited and the Kindle Owner's Lending Library, KOLL, then you're committed to making the digital format of that book available exclusively through KDP. If they find out that you have also published your book in ebook format in other places, they will remove you from their Kindle library, on their Kindle list. If you're going to use both CreateSpace and Ingram Spark, do not choose the expanded distribution program through CreateSpace. They use Ingram Book Group to distribute their books and take a percentage. If you're going to publish through Ingram Spark, they already distribute your books for free through the Ingram Book Group. That's where the 15% comes in. As soon as I have the files uploaded to CreateSpace and Kindle, I then do the same with Ingram Spark. I go one step further and click on Promotion. Promotion cost to their marketing publications is $85 per insertion. This is called the Ingram Advance. There's a children's advance and a regular book advance, which goes out to booksellers and libraries and colleges, etc. One thing that's really important to note is that you will need a different ISBN for every book you put out, or every version of it. So if you have bought your ISBN however you've chosen to buy it, either through CreateSpace or on your own, and you put it into your CreateSpace version of your book, you will have to buy a separate ISBN and a barcode for your Ingram book. You will also have to buy not a barcode, but an ISBN for your Ingram ebook, such as for the distributors through Nook and Kobo, Apple eBooks, and whatever other ones that they distribute to. Kindle, they will assign an automatic ASIN number, and so you don't have to worry about that or the barcode. But just be aware when you're setting up your files, and this is really important because it can become confusing. When you're setting up your files, make sure that you've got your CreateSpace ISBN inside your book on your information page, and that you have the correct one for Ingram on your information page, and don't mix them up. You'd have to do a lot of cross-checking because I've mixed them up and had to do some expensive changes. The other thing I need to inform you about Ingram is you should make sure that your books are complete and error-free, because every time you have submitted your books for review with Ingram and they have approved them for distribution, if they have approved them and then you find that there are errors and you need to make changes, they will charge you $25 for each time you need to resubmit the book. So if you do that with your cover and you make a mistake with your book interior, and you do that also with your ebooks, you could be spending $25 to re-upload the cover, $25 to re-upload the book file, and the same with each of the ebook cover or the ebook interior. With CreateSpace, any changes are free. You can continue to make changes on a daily basis and they still won't charge you any extra. That's one of the beauties of CreateSpace. In the following slides, I've shown various objectives for marketing plans. Depending on your budget, you can cherry pick which ones you think might work best for you. I usually start off small. I usually will start with Midwest Book Review and U.S. Review of Books. The money outlay is not huge. If I get good to great reviews from either of them, then I will go one step further and spend the money to go with Kirkus. Free advertising is getting interviewed by your local newspaper or the local media in any place you've lived before. Think outside the box as far as marketing. Certain books lend themselves to creative niche marketing. Instead of business cards, I create bookmarks with the book blurb, ISBN, and cover image, and leave them in magazines and waiting rooms or to hand out at signings. The most important places to have reviews posted are through Amazon.com, LibraryThing.com, and Goodreads.com. The problem with Amazon is that when friends and family review your books more than once or twice, they start to notice a pattern and they'll often strike them down, especially if they're consistently 5-star ratings. With LibraryThing.com, you can do ebook giveaways in 2 ways. One is through the Early Reviewers program, which is primarily for publishers, and the other is through member giveaways, which is for self-publishing. You can do up to 100 ebooks for each one in either PDF, EPUB, or MOBI formats, whatever you like. The problem with Library Thing is that I've discovered I only get about a 1 to 2% return on my giveaways, even if I do 50 to 100 ebook giveaways. With Goodreads, they charge for ebook giveaways, but they don't charge if you're giving away paperbacks. The problem with that is that you have to pay for the paperbacks and the postage to mail them. And like Library Thing, I don't get a huge return on the number of reviews on Goodreads anyway. There are a number of social media sites and blogs that will also review books. These you can discover. They come and go, and some are more popular than others, and there's different algorithms and formulas to decide and discover which are the most effective and have the farthest reach. There are some sites that are listed on Facebook that you can find that do reciprocal book reviews, and it's up to you to review the books that other people have, as well as presenting yours for review for other members. I hope you've enjoyed this video presentation. Please feel free to visit our website or contact us if you have any questions about any of the material presented. Also, please feel free to pick up any of our quality books, which you can find in bookstores, online, and in indie bookstores around the country.